Okay, hey y'all, welcome back to another video. So this video is gonna be a little different from like any other videos I made because usually I film like vlogs and stuff, but I wanted to sit down and show you guys every single book I have read this year. It's like the first week of July right now when I'm filming this, so it's the halfway point of the year, and I just want to show y'all like the mid-year wrap-up and all the books I read. The first book that I finished this year was one that I had started in December of last year, so I don't know if it really counts, but I'll put a picture of it on the screen. It's called The Christmas Cupcake Murder by Joanne Fluke. It's like a cozy mystery, and this book, it was like medium length. I think it was about 300 pages. I don't know, I put it like up in my closet. I liked it. It kind of felt like a little bit repetitive. It's about this girl and she like works in a bakery. I really like the cozy vibes that it gave. I don't know, I think I had never read a cozy mystery before, so I think I was like expecting somebody to actually die, and nobody did. I don't know if that's spoiling it. I don't think it is. And I think this author, like, she writes a lot of stories like this. Yeah, I rated this book 3 stars. Like, it was good, but would I read it again? No. But it was a good book. The next book that I read, From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. Oh my god, y'all. This book, 5-star read. I ate this up. This book was a little over 500 pages. I read it in like 10 days. So this book is about 2 figure skaters, Jasmine and Ivan, and it's like enemies to lovers, but they're like kind of friends, but they're enemies. I don't know, I loved it. I ate it up, and if you're an acts of service person, you're gonna eat this up too, because this man, I need Ivan. I love this book. Like, I think this book is my favorite. That book was a 5-star read. Like, dang, starting this year off with a bang. Okay, and then the next like 7 books that I read were part of this young adult series. I read this series back in like 5th grade. I'm like a senior in high school. A senior in college now, so over 10 years ago. This series is called the Shadow Children series. It's written by Margaret Peterson Haddix. These books were my childhood. I just love them. These books are basically about Luke. So in this world, you're not allowed to have more than 2 children, and then if you do, you have to give them away or they get... So those are the 2 options, or they can hide. They're not supposed to hide because like the government is very strict about, like, they're very controlling, and they want to control like the food consumption and like all that. I forget the word, but it's very like that. This series follows Luke, who is a 3rd child, also known as a shadow child. He has to hide in his house like his whole life, and we see in the first book his 2 older brothers, like, they live a normal life. They go to school, like public school, everything. They get to go out and be with friends, but Luke has to stay up in the attic. Like, he's been up in the attic like his whole life. He can roam around inside the house. Late at night they would let him like go out in the backyard, but now the government is getting like stricter and stricter. It gets more dangerous for Luke to be living there, and then something happens, and then the story continues. It's really interesting. The books are really fast. Like, I read each book in like about a day. These books were really fast. I rated this whole series 4 stars because in some of the books they follow different characters, and like some characters I was like, this was a little bit unnecessary, but okay. Like, let's go back to the main character Luke, because in 1 or 2 of the books he wasn't even like in it that much, and I was like, what the hell. I just wanted to read that series again because I hadn't read it in a long time. So I don't want to give like too much away because a lot happens like throughout the books, and I don't want to spoil it, so I just like told you guys what happens like in the first book. After I finished that series, I read them all like back to back. I started reading The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This book is like, it's labeled as fiction, but I think it's like a mystery thriller type book. It basically is about Owen Michaels, and he works in this like tech company in San Francisco, I believe. It follows his wife Hannah and his daughter Bailey. Owen goes missing, and this book follows Hannah and Bailey and like them trying to figure out like what happened to Owen. We're basically just following them and seeing what happened to him. It took me like a week to read it, but I also was in school when I was reading it, so I didn't have that much time to read. But it was pretty short. It's like under 300 pages. I rated it like 3.5 stars because I think I went into it thinking it was gonna be this like mystery. I think I was expecting more thriller. I need to like put my expectations down because obviously I didn't read right here where it says fiction, so that's on me. But it was good. It took a while for me to like actually be invested in the story. I don't know if it was me or the book. I liked it. If I could reread it again, would I? I don't know. I don't really remember much about this book. And then after that, I was kind of over sci-fi, mystery, thriller, whatever you want to call it, because I just read like 8 books around that, and I was like, I need some romance. I need some romance. So I picked up this book. It's called Loathe to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. This book is a collection of 3 novellas. So it's like 3 short stories, but they put it all in like one book. They're separated, but a little bit like interconnected in a way. So the first short story is called Under One Roof. We are looking at Mara, who is an environmental engineer, and I honestly like forgot the guy's names, like I'm not gonna lie. It's women in STEM romance. Under One Roof follows Mara. This one, she's like a redhead. I forget what she gets. She gets like a letter or something, tells her to like go to this house. She finds out she's like the owner of this house, so she goes to the house. She gets there and there's somebody there, and she's like, bro, what are you doing in my house? And he's like, I'm the owner of this house. And she's like, I'm the owner of this house, who are you? And he's like a little bit rude about it. So whatever, she's like, well, I own this house too, so guess what, you have a new roommate. And so she lives there. It's like forced proximity romance. I think this one was my favorite. The next short story in this book is called Stuck With You, and it follows Sadie. Basically, like, she works at this civil engineering company, and there's this guy there. Again, I forgot his name, and he's like known, I don't really remember, but all I know is that she gets stuck in the elevator with this man, and they bicker a little bit, and so then they get stuck in the elevator together for like hours. So this one was like also forced proximity. And then the last one is called Below Zero, which follows Hannah. She works for NASA, and she goes on this like expedition to, I don't remember where, somewhere like really cold. And the guy that I don't want to spoil it. So yeah, these were all really good, but I think my favorite, Under One Roof and Below Zero. The Stuck With Me one, it was good, but it was okay. I rated the entire book 3 stars because I enjoyed it, but I don't really remember what happened. Okay, the next book that I read was The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I think this is like the first book she published. I could be wrong. But this is the first book in a standalone series that she put out before like The Part of Your World and like all that. So I wanted to read these first. So this book follows Kristen, and she is like planning her best friend Sloane's wedding. She's like on her way to Sloane's house, and then this guy in front of her slams on the brakes and she rear ends him, and she's in her best friend's fiance's truck, brand new truck, and she rear ends him. So they pull over, they get out, and she basically like tells him learn how to drive and pay attention because now she got to pay for this bumper that she just messed up. She's like, but why is he kind of fine? And then whatever. So he gives her his number so they can talk about like the car or whatever. And then she like spilled coffee on her shirt when she like hit the car. So she's like, give me a shirt, because I can't be out with a stained shirt. And so he gives her one of his shirts, and she doesn't give it back. Yeah, it's like Friends to Lovers, but I rated this book 4 stars. It would have honestly been a 5-star read if the female main character wasn't so like obsessive about this one thing, because it's on the back of this book, like she can't have kids, and this guy Josh, he wants to have kids. So like now knowing this, and like if she wants to be with him, like she knows that she can't give him kids, and so like throughout the book she's like, no, but I can't be with him because I can't give him kids. No, I can't. And I'm like, girl, Mans is showing you that he wants you how you are, and you're over here, no, I can't, no, I can't, no. Like, girl, it was just pissing me off like the whole time. So if that didn't happen, then it would have been 5 stars, but it happened, so 4. Next book, I don't have it with me, but this book was actually psychotic. I don't have it with me because I let my cousin borrow it, because I'm like, girl, you need to read this and experience what I just experienced, because I was mind blown. I literally read this book in like 3 days. That book is called Never Lie by Frida McFadden. That is the first Frida McFadden book I've read ever, and it was a really good book. Like, that book honestly set my like expectations of thriller mysteries very high, and I honestly probably shouldn't have read that book first because it was so good. Never Lie, I forget what's on the back of the book, so I really don't want to spoil it, but it's about, I forgot the main character's name. Anyways, it's about this lady and this man, and they're like married, and like just like the vibes from the beginning of the book, I'm like, girl, your husband gives me the creeps. Like, because they're like house hunting, and he finds this house like very far out from the city. It's like 2 hours away from the city. It's very secluded. It's like the only house in that location for 2 miles. Like, there's not another house for 2 miles, and I'm like, this is very spooky ooky. Like, girl, is he gonna kill you out there? What is happening? So they're house hunting, and they drive up to this house because they're supposed to meet like the real estate agent up there, like to tour it. And when they're driving up there, it's already like given sus vibe, because it's like snowstorm and it's just very dark. And so they get there, and they're like calling the real estate agent, and like they don't answer, but like they're already there, and like they can't go back home because they're snowed in. So they're like, well, let's just see if like the door is open or if there's a key somewhere. And then they find a key, and they go in, and they just stay there in the house. And yeah, and I don't know, it was just like very scary. And then like as they're there, they like look through the house, and they like, oh, I'm just like remembering it, and the plot twists were plot twisting. Like, I was gagged, and then I turned around, and then I was gagged again. Like, that book was insane. And at the end, there was like an epilogue, and I'm like, girl, how are you just gonna drop this on us? Like, we literally just found all of this stuff out, and you turn the next page, and it's like complete opposite vibes of like the beginning of the book. I rated it 5 stars because I was actually mind blown. I literally posted it on my Instagram. I was like I couldn't believe what I just read. I ate that book up. 5 stars. That was the second 5-star read for me. Okay, this next book is the second standalone book that's like part of the series. Anywho, this one's called The Happy Ever After Playlist, and it follows Sloane. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about this book too much because it kind of spoils what happens in this book. So don't read the back of this book if you haven't read The Friend Zone, because I think you should read these books in order. There's not only like cameos of the characters from here in this book. Stuff happened in this book that's kind of important to know here. You could read this alone, but honestly the experience is better when you have knowledge of what happened here. And then yeah, so I'm not going to talk about this book, but I rated it 4 stars. I just really enjoyed it. The ending, I was like, after that I started reading the Coastal University series by Kai Steffens, and basically this series is like college romance. So the first book in the series is Springtide, and this book follows Harper and Luca. Oh my god, like this book I think is my favorite. Harper is very giddy and just like a light, and she's very social, and Luca is the complete opposite. He's very shy and introverted, and he doesn't have any friends because he doesn't like partying and stuff like that. I'm like my type of man. I love Luca's character. Like, yeah, he's very shy, but I'm like, I don't know. Like at first he was cold towards Harper, then like he started to let down his walls, and I love him. But the only thing I would like complain about is that this book is supposed to be like a football romance, but it didn't really feel like it. It kind of felt like a physical therapy romance because that's like all they would talk about. It would never take place at a football game, and I was like, girl, where are those vibes? Like, I think it was too short and they could have included more like football and stuff. I rated it 4 stars. This book was like fake dating trope. So then the next book in this series is called Fault Line, and this one follows Kaya and Holden. This is like a hockey romance. Kaya is just like a student and Holden is the hockey player, and this book is kind of like enemies to lovers. Kaya and Holden, they've always like just bickered with each other for no reason, but like they've secretly had a little thing for each other, but they didn't want to admit it. This book, I feel like 3.5 stars. It was very repetitive. Like, I felt like 40% of this book was, yeah, when you read it you'll know what I mean, but I was like, this again, like, I'm bored. Still liked it, but I think this was like my least favorite book in the series. Next book is the last book in the series. This one's called Ripple Effect, and this follows Daisy and Elio, I want to say. I think that's how you say his name. He is like an influencer a little bit. She is like a transfer student to Coastal University, and this, I don't really know what this trope is. Like right now I don't have the words to like describe like what trope this book is, but it gave me like found family trope. It's tied with the first book. I liked it. I rated this book 4 stars. I don't really want to talk about this book too much because it's the last one in the series and I don't want to give like anything away from the other 2 books, but this one was really good. All right, we're down to the last 3 books on my stack. The next book I read after that, I was like, okay, I've read like back-to-back romances. I need a break. I need something to mess with my head. So I read The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I've heard like everybody talk about this book and like, oh my god, this book is so good. They were just like raving about it. So I was like, let me find out. And I rated it 4 stars. It was good, but it wasn't Neverlie good. Neverlie was more of like a psychological thriller. This one, I was like a little bit bamboozled. Like I was like, huh? When like the plot twisted, but it wasn't. I mean, actually it kind of was. This book follows Millie. She is the housemaid for this like rich family, and they make her live in the attic even though they have a guest room. And so she like cleans the house every day. Like at first the house is like pretty clean. She's like, why do I need to clean this house? But then one day, or I think it's like the next day, she wakes up and like the house is a complete mess, and the wife is like throwing stuff everywhere, and it's just like she's making a mess. That continues, and like the wife, Nina, she's like very bipolar. She's just crazy. One day she's like, oh Millie, da, 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 being all nice to her, and then the next day if she's around people, like in front of people, even if she's not, like she'll just be like, didn't I tell you this, and she didn't. Like she's a gaslighter. This book was really good. This one, I rated it 4 stars. I would reread it again. Next book I read was the second book in the Housemaid series, which is The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. And we're still following Millie in this book, but she's still working as a maid, but she's with a new family now. And in this book, the husband hired the maid, but when she goes for the interview, like the house is like super clean, and she's like, oh, like why do y'all need a maid? But whatever, she doesn't say no because she needs the money. She's there, and like on the first day, or I think even before she got the job, the husband was giving the tour and he's like, okay, if this door is like closed, don't go in there, don't knock, like don't mess with that room if the door is closed. And she's like, why? And he's like, because my wife is very sick and she just wants to rest, blah blah blah. So she's working there, and like the door is usually like always closed, but like she hears things behind it. And one day like the door is cracked open and she's like, should I risk it? And yeah, this book was really good, but I think I still like the first Housemaid better because I feel like the plot twist was better, because I think this one had like, I think the first book had like 2 plot twists and this one only had 1. Well, it had 2, but like I wasn't as gagged, so I don't know what that says about me. It was good, but I think the first one was better. So I rated this one like 3.5 stars. And the last book in this stack that I have read is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is the first Emily Henry book I've ever read, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't my favorite. I think I was 50 or 60 pages in and I was like falling asleep reading it. I was like, number one, this book doesn't give beach vibes. Like the main characters don't even like the beach. I mean, like, same, but like, girl, why make a book titled Beach Read if it doesn't even take place at the beach? It's not giving beach vibes. Like the freaking town in this book is called North Bear Shores, and I don't know why. I think it's the bear part that is giving winter vibes. Like when I think of North Bear, I'm thinking Big Bear. The way I imagined this town was like Big Bear, cabins and like woods. I was not thinking beach. It was giving more lake vibes. She should have titled this book Lake Reads, because girl, that's what it was giving. It was very hard for me to read this book, and it's long. It's like almost 400 pages. I had to like listen to it on audio at like 2 times speed because girl, I could not. Like I tried to read it and I couldn't. I was reading word by word and I was like, I couldn't do it. I had to hear somebody read it for me. It just kind of dragged for me, and towards the end I started to like it, but the banter in this book was okay. I've heard like the banter in like her other books is better. I didn't feel like they had a real connection. Maybe that's just me, but I rated this book 3 stars, but honestly I should probably rate it 2.5. This book made me not want to read any of her other books, if I'm being really honest. This one set the bar real low. So those are all the books I've read this year so far. I'm currently reading It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I'm like almost halfway done with it, but the battery is flashing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and comment down below like what books you guys think I should read based on my ratings of these books, and also comment what books are your favorites and what books you guys want to read for the rest of this year, because I want to know. Anywho, yeah, see y'all in the next video. Bye.